There was a rich man who found his gold suddenly transformed into ashes, and he took to his bed and refused all food. A friend, hearing of his sickness, visited the rich man and learned the cause of his grief. And the friend said, "Thou didst not make good use of thy wealth when thou didst hoard it up, for it was not better than ashes. Now heed my advice, spread mats in the bazaar, pile up these ashes and pretend to trade with them." The rich man did as his friend told him, and when his neighbors asked him, "Why sellest thou ashes?" he said, "I offer my goods for sale." After some time, a young girl named Kisa Gotami, an orphan and very poor, passed by, and seeing the rich man in the bazaar said, "My lord, why pilest thou thus up silver and gold for sale?" And the rich man said, "Wilt thou please hand me that gold and silver?" And Kisa Gotami took up handfuls of ashes, and lo, they changed back into gold. Considering that Kisa Gotami had the mental eye of spiritual knowledge and saw the real worth of things, the rich man gave her in marriage to his son. And he said, "With many, gold is no better than ashes, but with Kisa Gotami, ashes become pure gold." And Kisa Gotami had an only son, and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said, "She has lost her senses. The boy is dead." At length, Kisa Gotami met a man who replied to her request, "I cannot give medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can." The girl said, "Pray tell me, sir, who is it?" And the man replied, "Go to Shakyamuni, the Buddha." Kisa Gotami repaired to the Buddha and cried, "Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy." The Buddha answered, "I want a handful of mustard seed." And when the girl in her pure joy promised to procure it, the Buddha said, "The mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend." Poor Kisa Gotami now went from house to house and asked the people, and the people pitied her and said, "Here is a mustard seed, take it." But when she asked, "Did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family?" they answered her, "Alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief." And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. Kisa Gotami became very weary and hopeless, and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. At last the darkness of the night reigned everywhere, and she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished. And she thought to herself, "How selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all. Yet in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness." Putting away the selfishness of her affection for her child, Kisa Gotami had the dead boy buried in the forest. Returning to the Buddha, she took refuge in him and found comfort in the Dharma, which is a balm that will soothe all pains of our troubled hearts. The Buddha said, "The life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. For there is not any means by which those who have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals, when born, are always in danger of death. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals, both young and adult. Both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. Of those who overcome by death apart from life, the father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Mark I while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply. One by one, mortals are carried off, like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay, therefore the wise do not grieve. Knowing the terms of the world, in whatever manner people think a thing will come to pass, it is often different when it happens. And great is the disappointment. See, such are the terms of the world. Not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, this pain will be the greater, and his body will suffer. He will make himself sick and pale, yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. People pass away, and their fate after death will be according to their deeds. If a man live 100 years, or even more, he will at last be separated from the company of his relatives, and leave the life of this world. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed.